I like the one. There was one I saw about because I've spoken to this about this on the show multiple times. I think the first one, Professor Pape. So something that Professor Pape mentioned to me weeks ago was about the Iranian strategy on why the axis is so important to control energy in the Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and the Mediterranean. And that's why Hezbollah, the Houthis, and obviously the Strait of Hormuz is Iran. And that's why, but these two these two allies or proxies, whatever you want to call them, are so important for Iran as their strategy to control energy in the Gulf. Because Iran, everyone's talking about how the Gulf will build alternatives to the Strait of Hormuz. So that's why Iran has a plan for that as well through their allies, the axis of resistance. And I saw you talk about it. I'm like, okay, interesting. And then I saw this tweet. If you can show it up on the screen, KK, and I'll just read it for the audience. And this is a perfectly timed tweet with the shaping operation that we're seeing right now unfold. It says the following: so you want to put boots on the ground in Iran? Give them what for? Finish the job. Let's start with baby steps. Karg Island is 600 kilometers past the Strait of Hormuz, and it's the size of Iwo Jima. There it is. That's a tweet. It's the size of Iwo Jima. Kashim Island is bigger than Okinawa. Both are in artillery, drone, and missile range of Iran. During World War II, we pounded Iwo Jima with battleships for weeks before landing 70,000 Marines. 19,000 were WIA. What does that stand for, Matt?
Wounded in action.
Wounded in action. And 7,000 were killed in action. It took a month to wipe out Japanese resistance. In 1945, we landed 180,000 Marines and soldiers on Okinawa. It took 3 months to subdue Japanese resistance. Jesus. The US suffered more than 30,000 wounded and 12,000 killed. But what the hell? I'm sure a force of around 10,000 US troops can capture Karg or Kashim while being shuttled in by helicopters and tilt rotors. Is that it? Tilt rotors.
Yeah. The Ospreys. The Ospreys. Okay. They fly like an airplane, then land like a helicopter.
Got them. Yeah, I know which ones you're referring to. From staging areas that are in easy drone and missile range from Iran, or maybe we'll just bum rush our amphibious ships loaded with Marines straight into the Strait of Hormuz. For Karg Island, tack on 600 kilometers, run parallel to the cliffs of the Iranian coasts. It should be a piece of cake. The Fox News military geniuses are all sure this is a great idea, and it seems like Trump is listening to them. God help our deployed soldiers, sailors, and Marines. And if you can, there's the map there. Can you expand on that, Matt? I'd love to get your analysis in your own words, how a ground operation would look like. Why are you even talking about this? Why a ground operation is something that is on your mind based on what we're seeing in the last few weeks?
Well, personally, I wouldn't be thinking about a ground operation, especially not after the fiasco with supposedly the downed pilot rescue, if that's truth and not just a cover story for another operation where we lost helicopters and C-130s. I think that Trump would be very cautious about that. You can see in American media we're hyper-focused on American casualties. Everybody can tell you, there was 13 killed so far, or 2 more killed the other night. And they don't spend a second on our media saying how many thousands of Iranians have been killed, or other personnel at the primarily at military targets that Iran has counterstruck. It's as if these casualties don't even exist. The only casualties that matter are our American military casualties, and it's still just theoretically 15, if that's the truth. Any attempt to land on Karg Island or Kashim Island, I think, would be much more difficult than Iwo Jima or Okinawa in World War II, because the Iranians have had decades to study our history and learn from things like the way that the Japanese were dug in on these islands into tunnel complexes beneath solid stone. In Vietnam, we really didn't understand the depth and width, the extent of what they call the Cu Chi tunnel complex, which was like right underneath of our nose, practically beneath our soldiers' boots the whole war. That later it became evident that this wasn't just a few tunnels. This is an enormous complex, and we lost that war, right? Even though in the Vietnam War, We had 500,000 troops right inside of Vietnam, South Vietnam, 500,000 troops at the height in the late 60s. And we had 5,000 combat aircraft, helicopters, C-130s, you name it, parked right in South Vietnam. They didn't have to fly from Jordan and refuel, to get within missile launching range. They were flying back and forth over South Vietnam at will for the whole war. And yet we lost that war. And the two examples from that map meme, Iwo Jima, which is the size of Karg Island, that's the famous site of the battle that the Marines won. That's the flag raising ceremony, which is an iconic image of the Marines in the Second World War. We had battleships surrounding Iwo Jima and Okinawa, from destroyers, cruisers, battleships, aircraft carriers. There were no Japanese reinforcements coming. There were no Japanese drones or missiles. For Okinawa, they did have kamikazes, which were a very big threat. That's like a human-powered cruise missile in today's terms. But it was never going to stop these invasions. It was very costly. We lost a lot of ships in the Battle of Okinawa, but we never were going to be, put off from winning that battle. And this is Truman is often credited with the decision to drop the atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, with the fact that after the Battle of Okinawa, generals estimated that we could lose, 500,000 or 1 million American troops invading the Japanese home islands, because then they would be able to reinforce internally. It wouldn't be an isolated island cut off from any reinforcement. If there were kamikaze planes or boats, even then they had the concept of the kamikaze boat, which is similar to a drone boat today. They would just be taking off and landing on Americans in minutes, because they would be flying out of hidden airstrips or hangars or boats out of cliffside ports, and they could attack our ships instantly. This is more comparable to what we would face if we were to attack the coast of Iran or Karg or Keshem, because the Iranians are dug into hundreds of kilometers of cliff that ring the entire Persian Gulf, and the Strait of Hormuz. And they've studied us. They know what our weaknesses are. They never, when Trump brags about sinking their Navy or destroying their Air Force, they were never serious players. They were never meant to take on our Navy.
Oh, guys, and just in case you don't know who you're actually listening to, my man is Matt Bracken, former Navy SEAL and geopolitical analyst. So, he knows what he's talking about.
In that context, the Iranian Navy is more comparable to a Coast Guard, what it was before the war. It was something that would be applied.
Oh, and shout out to my man Guest Dude also for coming in. Appreciate the support, my brother. Damn, I think we're actually almost close to open up the call-in. All right, and shout out to my man Guest Dude. He says Muslims make up 1% of the U.S. populations, while Zionists make up half the billionaires in the U.S. and own politicians at scale. Muslim take over my ass. I mean, bro, you're cooking on that. Bro, here's the thing. You know what? I was getting into a very heated debate with our boy Monty about this on X. You could go look at it. And my man was literally trying to tell me that, oh, no, it's possible for 5 million Muslims to pretty much take out 100 million Christians. And I'm just like, Monty, when in history has 5 million guys like with guns or equally equipped as 100 million guys take them on and win? When has that ever happened? And bro was trying to give me examples of like when the Spaniards came to the Incas and they pretty much took advantage of the Civil War, aka used the Incas against them, and he tried to use that as an example of, oh, well, that's a small group taking out a bigger one. I'm like, no, that's a small group taking advantage of a perfect situation for them to get to for them to take on a bigger enemy and use the bigger enemy's forces against themselves. It's like, yeah, like, come on now. You can't sit there and say that, oh, no, that's a perfect example of how the Muslims can take over. No, it's not. Or then he wanted to use when Britain took over India. Britain only came like, 1,000 to 2,000 soldiers by the end of their campaign. The army was mainly Indians, a.k.a. Britain didn't take 5-10 million Brits to take down 100 million Indians. Didn't happen. So there's nowhere in your history where you can provide me an example of, well, 5 million or 1% of people who are equally as armed as the 100 million people or the rest of them is able to take them over. You cannot provide not one instant in history, not one. And if you can, shoot, I'm willing to be wrong. I'll concede, but you can't.
If there were disputes between Gulf states or somebody's impinging in their fishing areas, but it was never a Navy that was going to, block the U.S. Navy from entering. But what's blocked?
Did I accidentally say the Inca? No, yeah, the Spaniards took advantage of the Inca Civil War at the time. So, AKA, they got some of the Incas on their side to take on to take out that pretty much that empire. So, no, 168 Spaniards didn't pull up and just take out all the Incas. That did not happen.
U.S. Navy from entering is geography and the Iranian planning. Since the February 28th sneak attack, there have been no U.S. Navy warships in the Persian Gulf. People still refer to Bahrain as being the headquarters of the Fifth Fleet, but it's gone. The headquarters buildings are destroyed. The staff of the Fifth Fleet are either ashore back in America, in Florida, or in Norfolk, or they're out on ships in the Indian Ocean. There is no more American naval presence per se in the Persian Gulf at all. The only American presence now has to fly in on aircraft, very quickly unload, and hope to accomplish some mission, like the setting up missile batteries in Kuwait before they're discovered and hit by the Iranians. So this is going to be, in many respects, much worse than Vietnam or the Pacific battles of World War II, because we're going right up against the landmass of Iran, 92 million people. One of the main things I think that I try to convey on Twitter and in Substacks and things like that where I can, Americans really have no sense of scale or proportion or history when we're talking about these subjects. It's almost like a joke. They do these man on the street interviews. Americans can't tell you what century the Civil War happened in, who we fought in the Revolutionary War. They literally can't. Our education system.
Hey, shout out Steph for sending the cheers for 1,000 joules. Hold on, man. I gotta give you guys y'all celebration, but we're gonna go with Dancing Kim though. Razor blade. Now let's get right back into it.
Is so bad, it doesn't focus on real history. So this makes the American population very subject to manipulation and blackmail because they really don't know what's real. They don't know it. They don't know if Vietnam is bigger than Iran. If you asked 100 Americans, what's bigger, Vietnam or Iran, they wouldn't have a clue. They couldn't.
Yeah, when I was trying to tell people, like, guys, Iran is like twice as big as Iraq and Afghanistan, right? And we had trouble with them. And the population is smaller too, and we had trouble with that. So please tell me where this delusion that we're just about to kick in the doors of Iran and just over and topple the whole regime within like 4 to 2 weeks. Like, tell me where y'all came up with that math. Like, come on, guys. Like, we couldn't even get that smoothly done in Iraq and Afghanistan without it being a dogfight.
Find them on a globe. So that's why I like to do these comparison map memes, because it puts it into stark terms. Iran is 10 times bigger than South Vietnam. It has 6 times the population that South Vietnam had when we were in that war. It's as big as the American state of Colorado. That's like our most mountainous state. Iran is as big as 6 Colorados, and it has higher mountains.
Yep.
It's just
bro, smallest mountain in Iran, 9,000 feet, bro. Smallest mountain there, 9,000 feet.
So I'm still seeing people posting constantly on X and guests saying it on Fox News, finish the job. We haven't even, taken one toe off of Iran. And they're speaking in terms of finish the job. To me, it's completely insane. And we have prominent generals like former generals Kellogg and Keane that have Trump's ear because supposedly he listens to Fox News all the time. And they're still speaking very positively about just taking Keshem or Karg Island or seizing part of the Iranian coast along the Strait of Hormuz. They have no sense of the fact that just the coast around the Strait of Hormuz is bigger than South Vietnam. And that the Iranians don't just have close range missiles, they have very long range missiles that can hit any part of the Gulf from any part of Iran. So it's not like you could even push.
And this is why low-key get irritated, like, well, sometimes giving commentary on Iran, because like, bro, it's so obvious that like everybody just underestimated them. Like nobody knew that Iran had all these capabilities. I didn't know about the underground bases, didn't know about the missiles being shot out of mountains. None of this y'all knew about until we had to fuck around and find out. That's the most irritating part about this. And guys, I know for people trying to say, oh, he don't know what he's talking about. He's a former Navy SEAL and geopolitical analyst. Who are you? Okay, then. I thought so.
100 kilometers into Iran and win the war. You'd still have, 600 kilometers to go with another 80 million Iranians. It's just absolutely insane to be talking about a total war against Iran. We just don't have the military force for it. And the idea that the Americans will rally to the cause if we just have some more casualties, that's one of the theories. Well, we'll have a land battle, we'll lose a lot of troops, and then Americans will rally to the cause. I think that's exactly opposite. I think Americans are already very sick of this war.
I mean, bro, most Americans did not want this war to happen. So the fact that there's people dying in it, we're just like, yeah, this is why we didn't want it to happen. The fact that we're spending billions of dollars on it where are we at right now? Let's go check the counter, guys. Right now, we are at $179.8 billion so far spent since April 20th of this war. So this ain't even the full amount, to be honest with you, because we've been at this since the beginning of March. So this is like a whole month of expenses kind of left out. A whole month and a half, really. And we're at $179.8 billion, costing Americans almost $1,200 per taxpayer. Like, yeah, trust me, a lot of us aren't really feeling too too energetic about this war. What in the hell? Are they still firing off? God damn.
Iranian drone, but something went wrong. Senior correspondent Mike Philbin is in Tel Aviv with the very latest.
Sorry, man. I guess my neighbor still got some fireworks left.
For us, Mike.
And sadly, John, the number of U.S. servicemen killed in action now increases. As you mentioned, there was that strike at the base in Jordan, and we reported that 2 service members had been killed and a third was missing. Well, remains have now been found, and steps are being taken for a positive identification. Further, that was a tragedy in Jordan. In northern Iraq, there was a team that was disposing of the explosives from the warhead in an Iranian attack drone. Something went wrong in that controlled explosion, and another U.S. service member was killed. Now, the identities are being withheld at this point out of respect for the families of the fallen. But this totals 4 U.S. service members to lose their lives since that memorandum of understanding was signed. Iran has menaced that base in Jordan and other bases in the region with drones and missiles. Most are intercepted, but on Friday, one got through the defenses. Central Command says this 8th night of intensified strikes is intended to punish the Revolutionary Guard forces who launched the attacks that killed the U.S. service members in Jordan. To this point, the majority of the targets have focused on disabling ports, destroying the ability of port towns to resupply, and to prevent the Revolutionary Guard from threatening shipping. Dramatic evidence of that, a tower destroyed in the port town of Chabahar. The U.S. says the Revolutionary Guard used that tower to track ships and attack them in the Strait. Iranian missiles were again fired at Jordan today. One of those missiles got so close to the Israeli border after it was intercepted, debris fell inside of Israel's border. Bahrain intercepted hostile fire. And the nation of Kuwait has a desalination plant that was again hit by hostile Iranian fire. That's the latest from the region, John. Back to you.
Mike.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of see the problem here. It's like, guys, they're able to reach all over the Middle East, but yet people thought they were only able to reach around them. And guys, this is why, Israel wanted to negotiate away their missiles, because they seen that, oh shit, their missiles can reach us and they can hit us. And I believe Iran proved that during the 12-day war. They hit Israel a whole bunch of times, guys. So to sit there and think that Iran's like missile capability only like revolved around what you thought the Strait of Hormuz was the farthest they can go? Oh no. They can reach far across the Middle East. Shoot, all the way over to Israel. I mean, what made you think they couldn't hit Jordan if they could hit Israel?
Mike Tobin reporting live from Tel Aviv. Mike.
All right, let's go ahead and get back to this guy here.
First of all, it's not a war we can be proud of because it's not a war of defense. It's a war we started. The Strait of Hormuz was wide open for the entire history of the modern petrochemical tanker shipping that to before World War II. The Strait of Hormuz has been open. It was open during Desert Storm. It was open during Operation Iraqi Freedom. It was always open until we attacked Iran on February 28th. So this isn't a war that American veterans can be proud of. Yep. You can't be proud of a war. You start with sneak attacks.
Bro. I mean, that is so true. Like, we do feign diplomacy and then attack them. And then our excuse is, well, we don't negotiate with terrorists. I mean, okay, then what's the point of feigning diplomacy with them? I mean, that's a bit, I don't know, shiesty, bit dishonorable. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like that. I don't like us moving like that.
If you look at the attacks that we've seen in the last few days, if you show that map, please, KK, does that look like a shaping operation to you? These are what's being targeted in Iran. We've seen those bridges being targeted in Bandar Abbas. These are on the left, the U.S. forces struck transportation and communications infrastructure around Bandar Abbas to disrupt supply routes to Iran's principal military and commercial hub on the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. forces struck several bridges and routes connecting Bandar Abbas to Bandar Kamir and Lar. The strikes closed key highways that Iran uses to transport materials to naval facilities in Bandar Abbas. CENTCOM also struck the Radio and Communications Regulatory Authority's office in Bandar Abbas on July 16th. This map is from 2 days ago, or yesterday, I think. 2 days ago.
And man, shout out to my man Dark City coming in. He says Trump will be all right. I got you, my brother. He said Trump will go down as the worst pres in history. Damn, the worst one. I mean, not second worst, just got to be the worst. Like, come on, we can still put. You know what? How about this? Let's see how he lands the plane first before we say that, because like I say, he could Bush this. If it gets worse than Bush, then okay, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Worst president in modern age. Because I ain't gonna lie, but we've had worse presidents like in history, nah, but in modern age, if he fucks up too bad, sure.
Does that look like a shaping operation?
From a military perspective that sold us, bro. We didn't have some presidents that sold us the fuck out. Okay, what was his name? James Madison sold us out to the world, to the global banking system. So trust me, we didn't have some worse presidents.
What is the likelihood that we will see boots on the ground?
I would like to think that in a rational world, it's close to 0% because there are intelligent colonels and generals that understand all of the history that you and I understand and know what would happen if we drop a few thousand Marines or soldiers into any part of Iran. That map of those to me are like pinprick attacks. A bridge to prevent Iranian troops from reinforcing in 2026 is like a ridiculous concept. It's like applying a concept from another century. Today, any convoy of trucks bringing troops or materiel south on those highways towards, say, Karg Island or Keshem Island would be under attack from the air immediately. It's foolish. That in the Pentagon and in CIA headquarters at Langley, if you can just conceptualize the Iran desk and the Ukraine.
Man, what kills me? Bro, I be listening to all types of former military, geopolitical analysts, people who used to be in the Obama administration, Bush administration, all that good stuff. And all of them says, the conclusion is that, bro, we had no good ideas for Iran. That's all they ever said, is that we just have no good idea to take them on. And we understand if we do take them on, they have complete control of the Middle East, where we got a lot of assets in. I mean, the Middle East holds up our petrodollar, and they put a lot of money into our stock market, trillions of dollars. So for them to get for us to threaten that would be extremely foolish. Well, and we would hope that Trump would share that, but I mean, look where we're at, guys. Yeah, I know. So kind of dead that idea of people understanding that, yeah, getting into with Iran is a very foolish idea. And I mean, guys, there's a reason why nobody else wanted to handle it. It's not because Trump had the balls to do it. It's because he was gullible enough to fall for the propaganda or the warmongers around him. It's that's just the sad reality of it. Because trust me, it's not that other presidents didn't have the balls to do it. It's bro, Bush dragged us all the way in, dragged us into a whole lot of conflicts in the Middle East. So did Obama. But the reason they did hands off Iran was because of the overall effect of it. We had no good plans to take these guys out. They were just, well, I mean, be real with you. God bless them with a strategic position in the Middle East and all the uranium in the world.
Russia war desk. Okay, these would be like suites of offices.
All right, though, let's get over to let's go to international news. Let's start with Al Jazeera.
We start with some breaking news. U.S. Central Command has confirmed a U.S. soldier was killed in Iraq on Saturday following Iranian attacks on the country. In a statement, CENTCOM said the following: a U.S. service member in northern Iraq was killed in action on July.
Hold on here. Hey, and shout out to my man Jet. He says, I want tax refunds for the last 5 years, and I want reparations from Canada because I got locked in the house with 3 kids for 3 days because of the wildfire smoke. Damn, for real? Hey, yo. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, now Canada, yo, my man Jet reparations. He need the reparations. You got to go ahead and run it. I know y'all don't got money right now, but y'all going to have to run it for my man Jet. Ain't no way. And yeah, I would like back a tax refund for next 5 years as well, though, because I ain't gonna lie, man, y'all ain't been spending my money correctly. You know what? I'm pretty sure we'd probably be disgusted if we was to get an honest report of where your actual tax dollars went to. You'd probably look at that list and probably throw up in your mouth a little bit. So I'm kind of happy that we don't know in a way. Because can you imagine getting a list saying, "Oh yeah, your tax dollars went to bombing kids in Gaza." Oh. Okay.
The 18th, during a controlled detonation of unexploded ordnance from a downed Iranian one-way attack drone. A second service member was wounded and continues to receive medical treatment for a minor injury. And we've got our correspondents now covering all the angles of this story for.
Shout out to my man Jet and Dark City. Appreciate the support, guys. All right, back to it.
First, Mohammed Val is right here in Doha, but first let's head to Washington, D.C. Heidi Jo Castro is live for us there. Heidi, what more did CENTCOM said?
Yeah.
Right. Well, now this brings the confirmed number of U.S. military deaths due to this conflict with Iran to 17.
Shout out to my man Guest Dude. He came in as well. He says, "Seth, there's no good plan for taking out Iran. We simply do not have the military capacity or political willpower to win any stand-up war." I mean, I don't know about any, but not with Iran. Shoot, definitely not with Iran. Because Jesus, man, I mean, bro, I could have told you, and like I said,